With the 2024 D23 Ultimate Disney Fan Event just weeks away, it is now time to dig into predictions for Horizons, the Disney Experiences Showcase, which is basically this year's fancy name for the Parks panel. And this is when Disney Parks Chairman Josh D'Amaro will take to the stage of the Honda Center, and he will lay out the future of the Disney parks. He'll make announcements and get into what we can expect, very much like the major heads of film studios do at major conventions. And this year, the hype has never been higher. And that's because the Walt Disney Company has multiple times talked about the investments coming to the Disney parks worldwide, to Disney Cruise Line. They've already announced so many projects, and they themselves are hyping up surprises that will be revealed at this year's D23. So this is going to be a fun one. But part of the fun every year, honestly, of a D23 is making predictions and anticipating what's going to be announced and going through all the rumors and all the speculation. And that's what I'm going to do today. I have a few wild card picks I want to share, but I'm also going to share what I've heard. I want to get into some plausible rumors, and I emphasize plausible here, and kind of get into what I know about the parks and what we can expect. So I'm only going, though, to share predictions for Walt Disney World, Disneyland, and Disney Cruise Line. And this is because I know those best and I don't feel I can speak with confidence or authority regarding the international parks. So this is going to be a stateside D23 prediction series. And this first video you're listening to right now is going to center on Walt Disney World, but I will have another video coming up on Disneyland and Disney Cruise Line D23 predictions. And then I have a third video waiting in the wings dedicated to the biggest rumor out there. So stay tuned for those, but for now, we're going to talk about Walt Disney World, and I'm going to go park by park, beginning with Animal Kingdom. Now, it's been known for a while that Animal Kingdom is the next Disney World park on the docket to receive some attention from Imagineering. And at last year's September's Destination D23 event, which is a smaller version of this year's event, by the way, Disney made some major announcements for that park, including a Zootopia show takeover of the long-running and infamous It's Tough to Be a Bug show inside the Tree of Life. What we learned last year is that this Zootopia show will take audiences to different biomes briefly seen in the film, and of course feature Judy Hopps and Nick Wilde, as well as other Zootopia characters. And the concept art we were showed Officer Clawhauser, and it suggested that the existing show's 3D elements would remain. But we haven't really heard anything else about the show since then. If Disney is still committed to this show concept, which I do believe that they are, we should definitely get more details about the story and maybe how the theater will employ its pre-existing sensory effects and with these different biomes. I also think we'll get some updated concept art. And here is my biggest prediction regarding this attraction: a focus on next-gen audio animatronics, similar to those used at Shanghai Disneyland Zootopia Land. And the reason I think this is because It's Tough to Be a Bug doesn't just rely on 3D and 4D effects, but physical, moving audio animatronic figures. And that Officer Clawhauser animatronic in the concept art looks a lot like the Clawhauser from Shanghai Disney's new Zootopia Land. I'm thinking we're getting a twin of that audio animatronic for this Animal Kingdom show. I think we're also getting a animatronic for Judy Hopps in place of Flick. And I'm very curious to see what animatronic will replace the Hopper one that's currently there. Maybe we'll get a Nick Wilde. Maybe we'll get a bit more surprises with this. But I do think animatronics will be a focus of the show, and I think they'll talk about that at this D23. Finally, I think we'll get a closing date for It's Tough to Be a Bug and possibly a timeline for when to expect this new show to open, especially since it's utilizing a pre-existing theater. I also want to note that while this show isn't Animal Kingdom's biggest new addition on the way, the Imagineering team who's working on this show are fantastic writers and really great when it comes to humor and kind of tying a whole story together. So this could really be something special and a sleeper hit for Animal Kingdom. Okay, next up is the Tropical Americas land, which we already know quite a bit about. Tropical Americas is expected to replace Animal Kingdom's Dino Land USA with an Indiana Jones ride replacing Dinosaur and an Encanto experience taking the place of the current land's theme parking lot carnival. There's also a carousel that's expected whose theme has been a popular topic of debate. Now, at the D23 Disney Experiences panel, I think we'll get confirmation and concept art for the Encanto experience, and I am confident it's going to be a ride given the size of the show building that was shown in certain models. I also think we'll get some concept art and more of the story for the Indiana Jones ride. Well, the Dinosaur already has a track very similar to Disneyland's Indiana Jones ride. I don't think the story will be a clone of Disneyland's version. We'll see about that, but that's my prediction there. And since Harrison Ford is set to become a Disney legend at this year's D23, I think there's a possibility he could come out on stage for this news. So fingers crossed for that. I'm also sure we'll find out what that carousel theme will be, as well as how Disney intends to reskin Dino Land's existing structures, like Restaurantosaurus. I actually made a whole video on this that I will add to the description in case you want more on that. My next prediction for Animal Kingdom is a new nighttime show. Historically, this park has not done well with its nighttime entertainment, but if they're adding in a whole new land, closing the park at 7 or 8 o'clock just isn't going to cut it. Crowds need to be dispersed throughout the park as well. So I do think something new will come to the lagoon in front of Expedition Everest and finally utilize that theater. Whether Disney has nailed down the concept for this show or not is another matter, since they do have time to figure it out before Tropical Americas opens, but I'm hoping for at least a teaser, a blue sky idea at D23. Now I'm going to get into my big swing predictions for Animal Kingdom, and I'm going to start with an expansion to Pandora, the World of Avatar. Disney CEO Bob Iger has already confirmed a new Pandora, the World of Avatar is coming to the Disneyland Resort, and it appears to be themed after Avatar 2, The Way of Water. Disney has a trend of replicating attractions and lands for multiple parks. And since Avatar has been a home run for the Disney parks, I think one of Disneyland's Pandora rides may also be built at Animal Kingdom. And if that ride is based on Avatar 2, The Way of Water, I think that different aesthetic, that different kind of focus would be a great way to expand and diversify the Pandora Animal Kingdom already has. If they also, too, could somehow tie it into upcoming Avatar movies like Avatar 3 and 4, it would be great synergy for the Avatar franchise as well. So I think something else Avatar is coming. That's that prediction. Moving on to my next one, and it has to do with The Lion King. I do think there is something to the rumors of a Lion King land coming to Animal Kingdom. Not only is the Lion King IP pretty much evergreen with guests, but Rafiki's Planet Watch is kind of an embarrassment in its current state. I like the concept of a vet center and seeing behind the scenes, but the Animal Kingdom Disney Plus series does a better job of that than Rafiki's Planet Watch does. This space is not utilized or promoted as it should. It's basically a spot for an animation art class, which I love, but I don't think Animal Kingdom is the right place for it. So why not capitalize on the Lion King and in this space, especially since it's a natural extension of Africa anyway. And I would almost say it's a no-brainer. I would be really confident about this rumor. If it weren't for its close proximity to the animals in their backstage areas, this has to be a priority, and whatever Disney builds can't have a negative impact or be any sort of interruption to the animals. So that's the only reason I'm not all in on this one yet, but I do think it is a possibility. My last Animal Kingdom D23 prediction isn't based on any rumors, but is purely the product of my own speculation, and that is a redo or update to Cali River Rapids. This ride has been at the bottom of most guest Animal Kingdom to-do lists for years since it's too short, and other parks have done this kind of ride better. And let's face it, its spot in the rankings can only go down as it gets older. And so, I think Cali River Rapids is part of the Animal Kingdom D23 conversation, but not necessarily to make it longer, but to give it an IP. And I think an obvious one is the Jungle Book. It matches with the ride and the surrounding land's Asian influences. A few figures and auto animatronics shouldn't be too difficult, nor should maybe some Jungle Book inspired music. Will it make this ride a must-do? No. But an attachment to a familiar property will reinvigorate some interest, and it will give guests a reason to ride. So those are my Animal Kingdom predictions for this year's D23, but we are just getting started. Next on the agenda is what Josh D'Amaro intends to announce for Disney's Hollywood Studios, beginning with, and this should be no surprise to anyone following the rumor mill, Animation Courtyard. This is that weird space at the park where you find Star Wars Launch Bay, the Disney Junior Show, Character Meets, and the new upcoming Little Mermaid show. And this area has been on borrowed time way too long, and since Hollywood Studios is back in rotation for something new, I think it's a given. But if that's true, Disney is keeping the lid tight on their plans for this space. I haven't heard anything that is new or believable, except for the fact that it may be opened up and connect over to Rock and Roller Coaster, especially since this would improve the layout of the park. However, I am doubtful that the old animation building, which is the Launch Bay building, will be demolished. Not only is it Disney history because Disney movies were made there, but Disney loves event spaces, and the now Launch Bay building could be a great event space if it's redone instead of just demolished. Also, Disney Junior has to go somewhere, as those properties are very valuable for Disney and families, and there's a particular hit family property that I think is likely on the way to the parks and Hollywood Studios in particular, and that is Bluey. As I mentioned in a previous video, Bluey and Bingo meet and greets are a huge part of this year's D23 Disney Plus Pavilion, and I'm thinking this is a precursor to meet and greets being offered in the parks. Whether a ride is also in the future, I don't know, since I don't believe Disney owns the theme park rights to the show. But if they can do more than just a meet and greet, I think it would be a guaranteed win, because not only are kids crazy about the show, but parents and adults are as well. But anyway, back to Launch Bay. I can see a scenario where the Launch Bay / animation building is redone, Disney Junior and Bluey meet and greets are put inside in some capacity, and then the rest of the courtyard is opened up to connect to Rock and Roller Coaster. As for changes to Rock and Roller Coaster and whatever attraction or show they have planned and whatever they're going to do with Lightning McQueen Racing Academy, again, I haven't heard any believable theories or anything new that makes sense. Anything else I've heard is old, and I think it's just that. I think it's just old. So I'm wondering if this is one of the surprises that Disney has been promoting, that they've been talking about, that they have a bombshell announcement no one is suspecting for Hollywood Studios and in this area. At least I certainly hope so. Okay, shifting over to Star Wars Galaxy's Edge. This is a tricky one since Star Wars hasn't been doing very well with fans lately, but my prediction is that alternate missions and maybe OG trilogy missions are going to be added to Millennium Falcon Smuggler's Run. This makes sense because the current mission is not great. It's confusing. No one even really knows what they're doing to begin with. So why not put original trilogy characters in a mission set within the original trilogy in this attraction to reinvigorate interest. Also, it completely works since Hondo Ohnaka was in Star Wars Rebels, which precedes the original Star Wars trilogy in the timeline. So again, this works, and it seems like a no-brainer. Plus, Disney advertised that would even happen years ago. They said that missions would be able to change back when Galaxy's Edge first opened, and we never heard anything since. So this possibility was worked into the ride system. I also think we'll hear something about the use for Star Wars Galactic Starcruiser. One possibility I could see happening is turning half the facility into an upcharge dining experience where guests can be shuttled over to the Star Cruiser to have a meal, maybe see some live entertainment, maybe do those interactive games on the bridge. And maybe they can also put other Star Wars characters in there as well. Not just the sequel trilogy characters. Original trilogy characters be put in here, as could the Mandalorian. So there's a lot of possibilities, and I do think we'll hear something about that at D23. So that wraps up my predictions for Hollywood Studios, and now it's time to talk about the Magic Kingdom and what they're going to talk about at the Disney Experiences Showcase for Walt Disney World's original park, and the obvious one is Beyond Big Thunder Mountain. Here's what we know. This project was first announced at the last major D23, which is in 2022, and it has been described as the largest ever expansion to the Magic Kingdom. It has been described as being similar in scale to Galaxy's Edge in Pandora, and Disney has mentioned attractions for this space, that's plural, as well as restaurants, shows, and etc. We also know that Big Thunder Mountain will be closing for a refurb here soon, and likely related to this expansion with changes to its track layout, and I predict it will be in the area you're seeing right now. Also, because of how the Magic Kingdom looks and feels when you're inside the park, it can be tough to imagine exactly where this expansion will be. And it's worth noting that Beyond Big Thunder isn't just directly behind the coaster, but actually stretches behind Tom Sawyer Island and could easily connect to Haunted Mansion and even into Fantasyland. Makes that Villains Land rumor way more interesting, doesn't it? And let's get into that. Let's talk about rumors and what really is coming to Beyond Big Thunder. So the original concept art for this project, which we were shown in 2022, is not what we're going to get. Some of those ideas were actually reused over for Animal Kingdom and Tropical Americas. So that's the big debate. What's going to be taking up this space? And the Villains Land is definitely up there. The Disney brass has publicly acknowledged the fan interest in that idea. There's also been rumors of a Radiator Springs Racers ride coming back to Behind Big Thunder, and also Toy Story Woody-centric offerings. And there's also Coco. Now, apart from matching the aesthetics of Big Thunder Mountain Railroad, I have not bought into the Radiator Springs Racers rumor, mainly because that ride, while it's awesome, is the same as Test Track, and weather is always an issue for this ride system, so I don't see why you would need to do that. Another spin on a Toy Story space, but rooted in Woody's Roundup, is something I could see, especially given Toy Story Land's popularity over Hollywood Studios. But for me, the two plausible rumors and what I'm predicting to hear at this year's D23 is Coco and a Villains Land. If I was betting my Disney dollars, it would be on these two concepts. But I also feel that Disney has something in mind for this whole expansion that we haven't heard yet, that's not out in the rumor mill. So I'm expecting to be surprised as well. And I've said it before, I'll say it again, an Oceania kind of land concept would be really interesting, and it would make sense with the geographical theming of this half of the park. But overall, the details of Beyond Big Thunder is 100% the announcement I'm looking forward to the most. The next big rumor, which isn't really a rumor anymore, it seems like it's actually happening, and that is a Moana attraction for the Magic Kingdom. At the 2022 D23, Disney unveiled concept art for a Moana flume ride, which was planned for Animal Kingdom. Again, that's no longer the case, but it seems that idea has survived and been revived and is kind of connected to the Fire Mountain ride concept that was once planned for Magic Kingdom in the late 90s and early 2000s, but that was never realized. And in case you're not aware, Fire Mountain was going to be a unique type of roller coaster in a mountain inspired by the movie Atlantis, and it was going to be in Adventureland. Atlantis and a number of other factors is why we never actually got Fire Mountain, but Imagineering has never quite let this one go, and neither have fans who know about it. So Moana makes perfect sense for Adventureland, and a mountain type of ride with Moana would actually give this land some height and a centerpiece and really kind of revive it. And permits have shown that a new ride system has been developed, and it's going to be a water flume ride, but that one that uses a track as well as a guide bogie that's mounted on the bottom of the boat to turn or orient the boat in different directions. Think of like Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind, in that your vehicle will turn to face certain show scenes. And this could be really cool in that will simulate the feeling of being at sea, of being adrift, of being in a free floating vessel, in that your direction changes. But Disney is in charge of that and will direct you at certain scenes. So a really interesting ride design here. And since those permits showed Moana's boat and even figures resembling Moana and Maui, this is why everyone thinks this is a done deal. The mystery, however, is when they're going to actually break ground and what exactly it will look like. And I think we're going to get both of those answers at D23. The next item on my prediction list is that Pirates of the Caribbean themed lounge. Disney announced this at last year's Destination D23, but we haven't heard anything since. It was expected to extend and expand the story of Pirates of the Caribbean, but here's the thing. With Frontierland Shootin' Arcade currently being transformed into a DVC lounge, I'd be kind of surprised if Disney opts to move forward with another lounge just now. I personally feel a Pirates restaurant makes way more sense than a lounge, as more quality dining is needed at this park. So I'm a little doubtful that the lounge concept has survived, and I think maybe we'll get something different relating to a Pirates dining experience. Something else I've become more doubtful about is a new parade. I know many Disney fans are predicting new parades for Magic Kingdom, and I get that. Festival of Fantasy is a decade old, and we haven't had a regular nighttime parade in ages. So it would make sense for Disney to announce not one, but two new parades. And granted, this could still happen. It's really what Disney is expected to do, but today's Disney is not the Disney of yesterday, and live entertainment is something the current park heads love to cut. And with investment in construction headed for the Magic Kingdom, I would think Disney will be wanting to help that spreadsheet as much as possible by trimming the so-called park extras. And I think that will include live entertainment. I truly hope I'm wrong, but if I am, I think it's evidence that Disney has turned a corner in terms of their attitude and approach to the park's entertainment, but we'll just have to see. So I'm making parades a possibility, but it's definitely what I'm doubtful about. As for my big swing predictions for the Magic Kingdom, I think Disney is planning not one, but two new Magic Kingdom resorts. I think a whole new resort concept for Reflections, which was intended to be a resort built over river country, is likely. But again, I think it won't be what we saw years ago. I think it'll be a new design. But I also think we're going to get a resort offering views inside the Magic Kingdom and possibly near the Moana attraction construction site. I think Disney is really interested in the ideas of having a resort offer a double experience, not only be an immersive resort experience itself, but letting you see into the park, letting you kind of stay into the park. Think of Tokyo Disney Sea's Fantasy Springs and its hotel. Disney has really been embracing this lately, and there are so many perks that can make staying here worth it, that could be upcharged. So I think they're leaving money on the table by not doing the same for Disney World. And the only space I can think of would be near Adventureland. So what if they can do this Moana Fire Mountain ride and have a new resort next door? That's what I'm thinking. So those are our Magic Kingdom predictions for D23. And the last park we're going to talk about in this video is Epcot. And as I'm sure you all know, Epcot just sort of finished a years-long transformation whose plans were budget cut to ribbons. So let's be honest, Disney doesn't want to talk about Epcot for a while. That's why I think we should only expect more information and new concept art for Test Track 3.0 and maybe something for Journey into Imagination. As for Test Track, I think we'll get more concept art. I think we'll get more info on the story and how it draws inspiration from older Epcot attractions, including World of Motion. But that's about it. Maybe we'll get an opening date, but I'm a little skeptical about that. Maybe more of an opening timeline. But Journey into Imagination is the one I really want to dig into because Disney can't keep kicking this project down the road, especially as they continue to lean into Figment as being a symbol for Epcot and they keep making more Figment merch. And fans are over the rumors at this point. So I think we could get a new Journey into Imagination announcement, but one that's probably non-committal. If they do get into the details, however, Inside Out 2's box office is the most obvious candidate to be part of an overlay for this ride. I think they'll still have to find a way to keep Figment in there. That is possible with Inside Out. I do recall there was a Figment Easter egg in the original Inside Out. You could make that idea work. So I think that's what they may propose. That's what I'm predicting for this D23. But I'm also predicting that they'll be very vague about it. But they're at least going to give guests something and fans something to tide them over and not have to go another D23 without having done something with this ride. So there it is. Those are my Disney World D23 predictions for 2024. As I already mentioned, I have another video on the way for Disneyland, and boy, is there a lot to talk about concerning the Disneyland Resort and Disney Cruise Line. Plus, there's that other video I promised, so stay tuned for those. But in the meantime, if you're into Disney news and analysis or videos of your magical home away from home, please consider liking this video and subscribing to my channel. I would so appreciate it. But regardless, thank you so much for listening, and I hope you have a magical day.